The key to getting things done is prioritisation, but knowing this and actually effectively putting it into practice can be two very different things. And so if you're anything like me or some of the clients that I coach, you may start off with very good intentions to set up your priorities and have a very good intention to set a good habit of following through on creating a priorities list and getting into the habit of ticking them off and sticking to it. And it all starts very well with good intentions, but we soon find that we start to get overwhelmed and we eventually just abandon the list and abandon prioritisation altogether. So oftentimes people get confused with being busy and prioritisation. And we can think that we're so busy doing so many tasks that we're really getting things done and feeling great. But we can feel exhausted and wonder why we're not getting any closer to the goals that we set for ourselves. So if you have set goals, that's a good thing, because sometimes I find that when we don't have goals or a clear direction, that can impact us even more. So that is in fact the first step. We need to set clear goals, and we can use frameworks like SMART goal setting, but really spend time here and make sure that you can fully feel aligned to the goal that you set for yourself, because everything else becomes easier following that. Once the goal is set, and ideally it can be yearly, we can break that down into quarterly or monthly as we know. But once that goal is set, now it's time to stick to priorities. And here is my secret weapon. So the secret weapon I have is the rule of 3. And this has been a game changer. Before, I used to set priorities that were aligned to my goals, but then I'd still find myself in the overwhelm, not getting things done, procrastinating, the rest. And now I am ruthless, and we hear that term a lot, ruthless prioritization, but having the rule of 3 really focuses that and forces you to do that. And the rule of 3 applies to any timeline in my case. So what I do is then I'll have my goals set, and I can have top 3 priorities for the year, top 3 priorities for the month, top 3 priorities for the week, and of course, you guessed it, top 3 priorities for the day. Now, what that means is that I can focus on those priorities. It doesn't mean that I can't do anything else, but it does mean that they come first and anything else comes after. Now, of course, I know that from time to time, as we move through our process of getting closer to our goals, we might get more intel, we might learn more things, and that might cause us to adjust our goals slightly, and that's fine. But ultimately, what we do need to do is then reset our 3 priorities, whether that be for the year, for the month, for the week, for the day. And once these priorities are set, then we can really start to break that down into the tasks that we need to get done and really focus our time. And what that means is the most important thing to keep us on track, which is knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because if we just have these 3 priorities, we can easily make decisions, so everything else becomes easier. So of course it does require that upfront effort to set the priorities, but then the rest of our time is so much easier to navigate. Now, where we need to be really disciplined is it can be so easy to say, I'm just going to add one more priority, I'm just going to add one more priority. But then if we do that, before we know it, our list is the length of our arm and we just abandon it because it feels too overwhelming and then we just want to do other things. We need to be focused. Having 3 just keeps it super simple and it makes it easier to just take that step, because if we have the 3 yearly, the 3 monthly, the 3 weekly and the 3 daily, what we're doing is breaking it down into smaller tasks. And when we have smaller tasks and smaller steps, it's easier for us to take the step in that right direction. So for example, if I set myself a goal to become a teacher, my priorities could then look like learning and studying to become a teacher. The second priority could be maintaining a healthy body, and the third priority could be maintaining strong relationships and connections. Breaking that down into a monthly priority could look like applying to schools to study teaching, looking for a suitable gym, planning some trips away with friends. And then that could work back to weekly, then that could work back to daily. And a daily priority list could look like submit 2 applications. It could look like go to the gym and do X amount of reps. It could look like prioritise calling my friend so that we can plan our trip. So when we do that, we are really focused on those 3 priorities that we've set ourselves for the year, and they really feed into our goals and they break right down into our daily priorities. So if you feel the urge to add more to the list, look at the list and think about what might need to be moved, and that's a much better way of looking at it. Of course, there's things that we must do that are responsibilities for our work, for families, like tax, and of course they are also priorities, so we do need to look at that and break it down on a day-to-day basis, but ultimately we should have our top 3 priorities there that are really guiding us each time. So make sure that you set these priorities, keep them simple, try to stick to the rule of 3 and see how much progress you can make.